In this video, I'll take you through a well-coordinated way of handling exception in your backend Ktor application and validating requests coming from clients to your server. For this, we'll create a sample project. I've changed the name to Ktor Exception Validation. For configuration, we'll maintain the default configuration. Uncheck this, so we'll get everything from scratch without any sample code. Then we're going to add the necessary plugins. We're going to have a routing to handle our endpoint. Then we'll add JSON as the media type we use coming from Kotlin serialization, and this automatically add content negotiation for you. Then we have another plugin to handle our exception, which is this status pages. Then we're going to add the last one, which is validation request. We'll add this plugin. Then our project is ready to download. Let's import it to IntelliJ and continue from there. This is the code that was generated from the site just now. So you can see we have application. If you go straight to resources application.yaml file, you see that it's pointed to port 8080, which is the default. Then Ktor application module will take you straight to this extension function of application, and it has two plugins configured already. So if we check routing, now you can see for routing we have request validation plugin and status pages, which handles exception. But we would like to separate this, just make it clean. So the first thing I want to do here, let me create a package, then I call it plugin. Plugins. Right, for plugin, then we can move this here because it's a plugin. Let's move routing there. Simply move serialization to there. Right, then for routing, we're going to create two different new routes. Let it be this, two different new plugins. So we have for exception, right? Then the next one will be for validation because we want to separate them. We have for validation. So for exception, we can simply have an extension function of application class. This, we have it as configure exception. Simple function there. Then we'll come back to this. This was generated, so we'll copy this. We'll separate it and we'll have it here. Next, for validation, same thing. Let's have an extension function of the class application here, and we'll have it as configure validation. Simple function. Then come back here, copy this. So for this demo, we're going to be using the DTO, and that will be the payload that will be exchanged from client to server, right? So for this, we can have a different package here and call it DTO. In as much as this is a demo, let's keep it clean. So we'll create a class, which is data class. Let's use customer, right? Don't forget we have to annotate this with serializable from Kotlin serialization. So this we serialize and deserialize our data object to JSON. Then we have ID. This should be integer. Simple. We have name. Then let's have lastly email address for customer. Format this. Yeah, we're done with this. Then we'll come back to routing. For routing, let's simply have routing. Then let's create a route. Same format API / customers. Right. We're going to create two endpoints here. One to post new customer, right? Then the next one should be to just get list of customers. So simple get there. Then to post, we call this call function to receive the payload coming from client, and that will be customer, right? So let's equate it to var customer request. All right, so for this, let's have an in-memory collection. We're going to use map user map. This should be immutable map of, this will take the ID, which is integer, then the customer itself. So we have it as customer here. Right, good. So when you post request to add customer, this should simply put this to customer request.id, then the customer itself, then simply return, this is just a demo, simply return http OK, then the payload that was sent initially, since it already has ID, right? So this is simple enough. Then the next one here is just to get the list, return the list of customers that we have in memory. So this should give us HTTP OK, and we have user map to be all the values, right? Simply return that. All right, this is good. Then for exception, what do we have here? Now for exception, you can see it's throwing a general exception, right? But we can have different kind of exception there. Let's go to validation first. Validation here, instead of validating string, we're going to validate customer here, right? So let's have this as customer. The instance of customer will be here. Then instead of this, we can have when, because we are going to have different scenarios or different fields that we want to validate. So for firstly, we want to check the name to be sure that the name is not blank. So we have name, we have customer dot name, right? Is if it's blank, yes, if it's blank, this should simply return validation dot invalid. Then we have the message here. Simply put, name can't be empty, right? What do we have here? When, okay, I don't think we need this. All right, great. Duplicate this. We have email. For this to email can't be empty. Ideally, we're supposed to check if the email address is actually in the right format, but we're trying to keep it simple for now, right? So the whole of this will go away. Then you can simply copy this. This should be for the S case. Else this. All right, good. So there is an exception type that will be thrown if this is invalid, and that is a request validation exception. So let's come back to this place to undo that. So in that case, we know that we can have different type of exception here, which is throwable, right? So we can have if is request validation exception. Good. We want to have a different response to our client for this. Then another case is, let's see, if it's illegal argument exception, right? For this, we're going to have a different case. Then else, let's just throw the general exception as an internal server error. In most cases, maybe you want to save this for your backend application, so you can come back to this error. So you can actually save the property here to your DB, get the message, get the you can print stack trace to, right, to be able to trace the error that actually occurred on your backend. So we'll copy this, simply put here, but for this we don't want internal server error. We can have a bad request, which is HTTP 400, I guess. So for this should be off. Simply have reasons. If you check reason, this is actually a list. So can we join the string comma separated in case if we have more than one message or one reason there? This is good. Then for this, the message for this to return for this, let's simply return message, right? Let's use string interpolation here. String interpolate this. All right, so we are good. So in summary, we check the type of exception. If it's request validation exception, it means we are throwing it from validation plugin here because we are checking for name and email, right? I think we're good. What else? This is good. We have this. So let's just go straight to test this. How do we test this? I'm supposed to expand this. I don't know. Sometimes this thing gets the font. I need to expand the font, right? So let's go straight there. I'll create HTTP client here. HTTP client, right? The first one, we're going to have a post request to localhost, right, /API/customers. Great. The content type will be application JSON, right? Then the body here. The first thing there, we have ID. ID could be one as the ID, right? Then we have the name, the customer name. I'll use my first name here. The next, then we have email. For email, we have this. I'll use my valid email here. jante.adebowale@gmail. .com. Good. Can we test this? Before we test this, then let's run our application first. Run this, give it some time. Could be that I'm running different processes on my system. All right, great. So this is running. We have it on port 8080 on localhost, right? So can I add this? All right, great. What do I have here? We have why is this not part of? It was added successfully though, right? Because we have okay 200, right? But I don't know why it's not printing here. Why? What's happening? This. All right. Okay, 200. Right. Then let's try and get. To get, we have get here. I want to separate that. How do you do that? Good. So get. Let's get the list of customers now to be sure that it has added to our in-memory collection. Get. Simple get. Now this is giving us Jante and Jante email. So let me add a new one. Let me use my last name here for this. Adebowale. Right, same email. Run this. Added successfully. Get the list. We're still having the same list. Why? Because we forgot to add change the ID. You know, it will overwrite since it's a map. But when we get the list here, now you see we have 1 Adebowale, 2 Adebowale, 3. This should be Jante. Right, let me run this. Then we should have 3 of this. We have 1, 2, 3. Right, so good. This is working. But let's leave the name to be empty. Run this to be empty. We're expecting the name is empty, but what is going on? Still return this, but we expect name to not be blank, right? So let's go back to our source code. Okay, I think we just created this. You know, these are new. Exception is new. The application class itself is not aware of this, our new plugin. So let's go straight. Yes. So we need to configure validation. Then, no, not comma, since it's a extension function, we need to configure exception here too, right? Then run this again. Then let's try the payload that we'll try last with empty name. Let's try this. This should not be successful. All right, great. So this is bad request saying name can't be null, right? So let's try for email too. Leave your email to be blank, right? Leave email to be blank. Let's see. Can you see? Email cannot be empty. Same thing. So before your backend even consume your request from client, it validates using this plugin to validate. These are the messages we just got. Name can't be empty. Email too can be empty because we've already configured that to check for us. Ideally, you want to create a function that will validate your email too. So you can have something here, something different here to validate that your email is actually in the right format. Right now, I can't get the function for that. Let me check chat GPT for that and come back to this video. All right, good. So I got this function just now to validate email. So I can simply create a new package here for util, call it util. Here, I'll create an object class, which is this. Maybe app utils, right? Then this validates email. This is a function, but I'll prefer this to be an extension function, right? String is valid email. We don't need this. Then for this, we have this, right? Then we can go back to our validation class. Here, we have it as a if what email dot customer dot email dot is valid. If it's valid, if it is not valid, then you have a it should be invalid email, right? So let's test this. Run this again. All right, great. Then come back to create this. Let's have a value there that is not a valid email. Run this. All right, great. What do we have here? Invalid email. Yeah, good. So this is how you validate your request coming from client to server to your Ktor backend application server, right? Then handling exception too, right? So you can see if there's a general exception, it will throw this, right? And I think that is it for now. Then for illegal, we shouldn't have internal server error here. We can have this as bad request too, right? In case you are trying to get a particular customer and you are not passing the ID in the right format. We're expecting integer. Imagine you are passing in a string. So this will give us illegal argument exception. You can throw this particular exception at that point. All right. Thank you for watching this video. Have a good day.